Good morning. Today is Wednesday, December 30th, 2020, and we're here for a work session. As always, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Catherine, would you mind taking the lead?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay, we have just a couple of announcements today. First, the distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine has begun across the United States. However, the number of positive cases continues to rise. All are urged to remain vigilant and follow CDC and Department of Health guidelines. Please continue to follow social distancing protocols. Get tested at one of our local COVID-19 testing sites, which may be found on the town website. And of course, remember the 3 W's. Wear your mask, watch your distance, and wash your hands. Second announcement, I'm pleased to say nearly 1,200 people have already taken the Riverhead Law Enforcement Advisory Panel survey. If you haven't already done so, the survey will be up on the town's website through tomorrow, December 31st, 2020. Hard copies in both English and Spanish are also available at the Town Hall reception desk. Please take the opportunity to complete this brief survey as we welcome everyone's feedback. Lastly, Town Hall will be closed on Friday, January 1st, 2021, to allow our dedicated employees time to celebrate the new year with their families. On behalf of Supervisor Aguiar, the entire town board, and myself, I wish to extend to each of your families best wishes for a happy and healthy new year. I'm confident 2021 will be a brighter and happier year for our town. Okay, moving on to our discussion item for today. We have Greg Bergman from Planning. He's here to further discuss a code amendment to Industrial Zone A for car parking, and the public will recall that this was on the agenda, work session agenda back in early July, right, Greg? I think, Tim, you were behind that effort. Thereafter, it went to a public hearing, Greg?
Correct.
And we're back again to talk, I guess, about some of the comments and the feedback from that public hearing, right?
Correct. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So you're correct. We did have a public hearing on the proposed code amendment to allow the outdoor storage of new motor vehicles in the Industrial A zoning district. At that public hearing, there were some comments which were raised by members of the public, which we have revised this code amendment. I've worked with the town attorney, I've worked with Jeff on it, and we've tried to come up with some thoughtful responses and amendments to that code. What I've given you, I've just given you a quick little packet just to give you a reference, an aerial image taken from Near Maps, which shows the geographic area which we've restricted it to. One of the comments at the public hearing was, how are there going to be any sort of controls on the amount of acreage that would be dedicated to such a use? What we did is we sort of isolated a geographic area within the Industrial A zoning district, which is listed in subsection A of the code amendment. I've highlighted it for your reference. Generally, we're going to restrict this specially permitted use to Industrial A zoning district parcels within the following geographically defined boundary. North of Middle Country Road / Old Country Road, east and south of Manor Road, and west of Toomey Avenue. This was done for several reasons. One being the outdoor storage is a dry use. Now that portion of Calverton and the town of Riverhead does not currently have public water supply, so it seems to lend itself to a dry use where you wouldn't need to run additional water supply infrastructure to that area. And two, if you take a look at the image that I've distributed to you, what I've done is I've identified some of the residential parcels, which as you can see are generally clustered along Middle Country Road. Now within our code, there are restrictions, within the code amendment, there are restrictions. It says no trees shall be cleared in order to create these car storage lots. I've listed the tax map numbers and I've listed the types of uses that are present along those parcels. There are 6 existing single-family residences along Middle Country Road. There is 1 existing commercial / industrial use. But the way the parcels are configured, the existing wooded vegetation and other existing uses in that area, it really sort of lends itself to keep these uses away from the residential parcels. The only one that would be really directly affected would be the one identified as parcel number 1, which is a single-family residence. Again, there are provisions in the proposed code amendment which states that there shall be a 50-foot vegetated buffer which is established and maintained for many residential uses. Frankly, outdoor car storage would probably be less intense than any of the other permitted uses, warehousing, manufacturing, other industrial uses. So there will be a required 50-foot vegetated buffer between those residential parcels. I think what you have before you is really some thoughtful responses to comments that were generated at the public hearing. And what we'd like to do is put this up. I did speak with the town attorney. The proposed amendments are substantive enough that we would like to schedule another public hearing on it. And hopefully we'd like to move forward on this because we have been working on it and talking about it for quite some time now.
Tim, you want to add anything?
Yeah, Greg, thanks. This, great idea. Going back, we listened to the comments that were made at the first public hearing, went back to the drawing board, so to speak, and you came up with an area that is industrial A, and it's actually a very benign use for the property. To store vehicles, which is a much needed, it's deeply needed for a couple of the car dealerships in town because of the way that the manufacturers make them take X amount of cars and they just don't have enough property to store them on. So this will greatly help them with that. We've had them placed kind of all over town for the past few years, including at EPCAL, without proper zoning, without proper permits and such. So this has kind of given us a handle to control it. It's a benign use and it's in an area that, it's industrial A, and honestly I think with the setbacks and the buffers, and you're not really gonna see it, I think this is the best place this could possibly go, rather than say a manufacturing plant or something else that could go into industrial A. So I think the area that you've located is really perfect, and hopefully we can do this, because our car dealerships, you know, they play a big part in our town, and we're known as the East End Mecca for car dealerships. They provide tons of jobs for our people in town. They pay a heck of a lot of taxes to our tax base. So it's important to be able to help them out. And I think this is going to be the easiest way on everybody involved, the least aggressive way of putting it in an area where people may not want to see it. But I think the way it's been set up with the buffers, and like I said, it really won't be seen. It's going to be screened off. Good job. I appreciate it. I look forward to the public hearing on it.
Thank you. I would just like to call out one other amendment that I did put in there. If you look at page 2 of the proposed code amendment, subsection D, it states that setback to storage areas shall be 0 feet at a property line when said property line is shared with another new vehicle car storage lot. The thought being that, you know, obviously we understand buffers between other commercial uses and residential uses, but if there was going to be, let's say, 2 of these car lots established next to each other, rather than chew up 50 feet of their buffer, providing it on both, you know, if you're going to have 2 lots that are used for car storage, there's no need for any additional buffers, and you can just continue it on.
Right.
So Greg, we've been working on this a long time, and, you know, I agree with Tim. The car dealerships are they're good neighbors, and we really wanted to work with them. And it's been a long time trying to get this right, but I just do have a few questions.
Okay.
Because we did talk about this in code, we were talking about acreage. So is there a limit? Did you say there's a limit to how many cars can be per acre?
There's no limit cars per acre. I mean, again, there's nothing in our code, you know, we have provisions when we're doing site plan review, such as 24-foot wide drive aisles, 10-foot by 20-foot stalls. When you're looking at this type of proposed use, car storage, I mean, realistically, these car dealerships, you know, they can kind of pack the cars in there. I don't really think the amount of cars would have any sort of impact on the totality of the use. The buffers will still remain in place, so whether they were able to store 50 cars per acre or 100 cars, they are new cars. They're not going to be any sort of junk, pre-owned vehicles, which would be prone to leaking additional fluids. I did kind of do a rough calculation, and I mean, again, based on the existing vegetation, where we kind of isolated the geographic area, I believe it was about 39 acres that could potentially lend itself. Now,
That was my next question, like how?
and again, and that's assuming if you look at the aerial, there are 2 parcels along Manor Road, which are currently farmed, currently vacant, currently cleared, there's no vegetation, and then there's that one parcel to the east. That's where that approximately 39 acres, and again, that's a worst-case scenario. But, again, we don't have any applications currently pending, so, 39 acres potentially could be devoted to this use, but again, rather than just put this code and apply it to the entire industrial A zoning district, which could, and that's why we put language in there, because it says, in order to prevent the unanticipated proliferation of properties being utilized for new motor vehicle storage within the town of Riverhead, we restricted that geographic area. I mean, there's only certain questions like that. We try to do our best to respond thoughtfully to these comments. I don't know how much more we can really restrict it or kind of put limitations on it.
But we did talk in code, and you and I talked about limiting how many acres of cars there actually could be. Did you, and so you,
Again, based on, in effect, the geographic restrictions do limit it. Again, there are restrictions in this proposed code amendment that state no additional clearing, so if you look at the image, that parcel to the north of where you have lots identified 2, 3, 4, there's a tremendous amount of existing vegetation on that parcel, so that in effect has been removed from potential because there is car storage. I mean, if someone wanted to develop some car storage on the northern portion of that lot, it's far enough away from any residences where they wouldn't even be able to see it. So, in terms of putting a hard and fast number on it, I think it'll depend on the demand from the car dealerships, but I mean, we're looking at a worst-case scenario of potentially 39 acres.
so this is industrial A, but it's currently
Potato farms.
farms.
Correct.
And you're saying it's in proximity to residences. I think we may just hear from people in that area that might not be interested in that. My concern is, I think we should limit how many acres of cars they can do. I understand what you're saying, that they can pack a lot of cars in, and actually one of the dealers put in that huge lot, which we've talked about, and it's not even full. I think, is it Apple that has that huge?
I believe it's the Ford Lincoln Mercury.
Yeah, they have a huge lot that last time I went by, it wasn't full. So for me, I would still like to limit how many acres they can do here. We have had that discussion. I'm glad there is tree clearing. I personally wish we could put the cars out somewhere at EPCAL where they wouldn't be seen.
So that was considered, and honestly, the thought process behind that was these vehicle storage lots, I've kind of likened them to these solar farms where they don't create jobs. So the thought process is, why would we put while it is a benign use, why would we utilize land at EPCAL, which is supposed to be the economic driver for the town, for a use that doesn't really create active jobs?
But we do care about what our town looks like, and I wanna work with the people. Greg, is this bordering or close to the Lavender Farm?
Lavender Farm is located to the west across Manor Lane. Manor
So
Road, I
both-
believe.
Greg is correct, as far as the properties are concerned. 2 of them are being farmed now, potatoes, and they're very flat, and they would be ideal for this application. However, the further east you get, those properties are less ideal, even for the farmers, because there's tremendous swales that wouldn't make it likely that they would be usable for that application.
Correct.
So really, you're really limited to only a couple of the farm fields that are ideal for this use. So I think that really does, in itself, limit the amount of acreage that is usable.
Without putting an exact number.
So those would be farms that would come out of production for car storage, correct?
Yes, but also they would be ratables in the industrial A, which is tremendous.
Oh, I understand that, and I think Catherine brings up a good point when it comes to the acreage and the number of cars, but I think that when you have no clearing in there, that maybe if it was and you could probably calculate the percentage that you wouldn't be able to put cars on based on the buffers that are in the legislation, that there will be a significant amount of acreage that will not be able to have car storage per se. And you could have a tree right in the middle of a field where, that might not be a perfect location for a drive aisle. So I think it's gonna be predicated on individual site plan applications that come in that will require public hearings.
Correct.
And if the public comes in and says, you know, we want more buffers, or we want this, or we think that you should have more acreage, you know, preserved, or we'd rather have the potato farm, then, yeah, the planning board is going to hear all of those requests on the individual site plan applications.
Correct. And I mean, again, if you look at the map, it's really only the lot identified as lot number 1 that would be directly impacted. When you look at lots 2, 3, and 4, again, those are buffered with that existing vegetation to the north. And as Mr. Bayrott said, you know, they've got those large swales, large grade changes, so they would not necessarily lend themselves to be developed in such a manner. And then when you look at lots number 5, 6, 7, I mean, they're located directly across from a concrete manufacturing plant, you know, an existing heavy industrial use. So I mean, I don't see the concrete plant going out of business and putting a car storage lot there. So really, in effect, we've sort of limited it to those 3 parcels along Manor Road.
So, yeah, the concrete plant you don't really notice, sort of tucked away and it's been there forever.
That
So for
section of
me-
Calverton is very tucked, unless you're going there specifically down Middle Road, that area is very kind of tucked away and it's very secluded. And
Okay.
we also did that to keep, there are an existing block of, I believe there's 6 or 7 residential parcels along Manor Road and Middle Road at that intersection, so that was another reason why we restricted it to this geographic area.
So for me, I actually don't like it in this area. I would have rather, if we could, of course, see it at EPCAL or even somewhere along Route 58. We had originally talked about some lots across the street from some of the dealers with lots of screening. My problem here is that I think it's a pretty area. I think Calverton is getting pounded. All of the big projects are going into Calverton, so now you're taking kind of a pretty farm area, whether it's farmed currently or not, and you're putting car dealer. I think the Calverton community is going to be upset about it. I think we should limit how many acres can actually be used for car storage, and I think we should put something in there about how many cars per acre. I mean, we could work with them on that. So those are my concerns. I don't like this. I know you worked hard for a long time on all this, Greg, but, I actually don't like this.
I mean, so again, this was, you know, we did specifically speak about industrial A.
Yeah.
EPCAL has a different zoning district,
Right.
it's PIP, so, I mean, that's something that's never been discussed. There's
Yeah, I
there's no industrial A on Old Country Road, so I mean, again.
Yeah, we've talked about
So-
EPCAL here and there, and I mean, for me, I always wanted it to only be one of the industrial areas, and I think we did limit to A just because it was less area. When originally, I think when this legislation came up, it was going to be A and C.
Correct.
So I'm glad we walked back on that, but, I would just prefer to have it in, I just think this is a pretty area of farms, and I'd like to protect that look in the Calverton area, which I think they're quickly losing.
And if I can just say with regard to EPCAL, the town, started a lawsuit years ago against a car dealership that was storing cars there on the property. They had hundreds of cars, they had car carriers that were steaming in and steaming out on a daily basis. You have 1,500 residents, a lot of them, that were in the park that I was fielding calls and complaints from because of the motion of these car carriers that were carrying 20 cars, and they were coming in, 5 to 10 times a day, and they were coming in, they were steaming in, there was, lines for people to get out of the park, to get to lunch, there was, it was a public safety risk. They're in an industrial park, they have manufacturing, they have the manufacturing trucks that are importing and exporting material from the site, and the car carriers were the most of the traffic, and now that the town is taking in those roads, I don't think that it's a good idea to have these heavy car carriers in and out of the property at EPCAL. That's just my opinion, and that's why we started the lawsuit against that one company that leased their parking spaces because their building was vacant, and they had no intention of filling it because they were getting more money for storing cars there. And EPCAL was created and given to the town as a job generator. And when you're using all the parking for new cars, there is no ability for those vacant buildings to be filled with actual workforce.
Weren't those cars from Superstorm Sandy or
No.
something?
No, they weren't. They were brand new cars.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just would like to see this kind of use. I know it is industrial A, but I'd like to see it in an area that is more industrial. I mean, just looking at this, it's really so pretty. Like to protect the farm areas of Calverton, and I also think we should limit the acreage. Those are my points.
Just to clarify a couple things, because I've met with the car dealerships over the past couple of years on this. And Catherine, you made a remark before about Riverhead Ford, about there's not as many cars there right now. That is correct, but that's due to COVID. The production plants had shut down, so they don't have the quantity of product to keep on property right now. That will be changing soon. That particular piece, as large as it looked, and I know there were complaints about the trees that were knocked down and everything, but they're also helping a couple other dealerships out by sharing that land for storage for them. So it takes the need for a lot of car storage area somewhere else in the town to be done. That's why this property really fits the piece. 39 acres is way more than they're ever gonna need. They're not looking to do that much. They don't need it. It's just one or two dealerships now that have storage problems. Riverhead Dodge is in the process of building their new place on 58, but they're also gonna keep the place on Main Street, their original dealership. So their storage problems really aren't as bad as other dealerships. The one or two dealerships that do need car storage area right now will be looking to use this, and I think this is gonna be screened off. I agree with Catherine, it's a beautiful area, but it's gonna be screened off, and it's better than having another cement plant show up there, or something with smoking stacks or something else, which could be with Industrial A. I think this is a very benign use for it, and I think that you isolated this area of properties are the perfect location for this.
I will also say that the proximity to the dealerships themselves is ideal, because the further away from the dealerships you get, the more traffic you're going to create in that area, bringing them back and forth to the dealership. So I think in that regard, this is a really ideal parcel or area.
And also, I just note that in the code here that property has to be returned to its original state should this ever become vacant or not used anymore for those purposes.
And Greg, what about the habitat in that area?
Which habitat are you referring to specifically?
Well, it looks like there's some fields here. That's not
Farm
something.
fields, yes.
Right.
There's restrictions about tree clearing, so you're not gonna have any loss of any northern long-eared bat habitat or anything of that sort. I mean, we're really talking about, in effect, 3 parcels.
And they only like EPCAL anyway, the long-eared bat.
Yes.
They're not going anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think there's anything in this area that's considered a critical habitat in a farm field.
So the residents will get an opportunity to weigh in on this.
Yes.
If the board agrees that we can move forward for a public hearing, yes, the public will have a chance to comment on it, and, we'll move forward, hopefully.
I mean, my feeling is I don't think the Calverton people will be happy, but we'll see.
All right, well, we'll hear from them during the public hearing. Greg, we'll get confirmation as far as the dates of when we'll publish and post and when we'll go to public hearing, so that'll be forthcoming, but at least conceptually, it sounds like the town board is mostly in agreement to move this forward, right? Right?
I am.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, so that's it for discussion items. We'll go to resolutions next.
You guys are gonna miss my humor.
We are gonna miss that. You're right. We are.
You going somewhere?
You're gonna miss us,
I haven't
too.
seen
I
that
will,
letter
for
of
sure.
resignation yet.
What?
I haven't seen that letter of resignation
It's
that
there.
I'm gonna vote against.
Okay, so we'll get into resolutions. Number 1, reappoints chairman and vice chairman to the Town of Riverhead Planning Board. Number 2, reappoints chairman and vice chairman to the Town of Riverhead Zoning Board of Appeals. Number 3, reappoints member to the Town of Riverhead Planning Board. Number 4, reappoints member to the Town of Riverhead Zoning Board of Appeals. Number 5, reappoints members to the Town of Riverhead Architectural Board. Number 6, classifies action, assumes lead agency, and issues negative declaration pursuant to SECRA and grants approval for the amended site plan application of Wellbridge Treatment Center, previously known as Peconic Care, 525 Jan Way, Calverton, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-135-1-7.56. Number 7, set salaries of general town employees for the year 2021.
I just have a quick amendment on it.
Sure. Bill?
There's a department, fire marshal, that has been moved, so it's just in the wrong section. We just noticed it this morning. So that whole section just has to be moved under PD. So the salaries and everything else is fine, it just was moved recently and has to be that, moved for that resolution. Everything else on that resolution is fine.
Okay. Okay, number 8, set salaries of water district employees for the year 2021. Number 9, set salaries of police officers for the year 2021. Number 10, set salaries of various boards for the year 2021. Number 11, set salaries of highway department for the year 2021. Number 12, set salaries of elected officials for 2021. Number 13, sets the fees for usage of recreation and other town facilities. Number 14, set salaries of sewer scavenger waste district for the year 2021. Number 15, set salaries of street lighting district for the year 2021. Number 16, accepts the resignation of a detention attendant. Number 17, accepts the retirement of a construction equipment operator. Number 18, accepts the resignation of an office assistant. Number 19, authorizes sewer district employees to attend seminar. Number 20, adopts 2021 living wage. Number 21, reappoints town historian. Number 22, authorizes stipend with town engineer. Number 23, maintains policy of non-discrimination. Number 24, request to reject bids for the renovation and conversion of the Benjamin Barn at East End Arts Council to a ceramic studio.
What's that?
Did we not get enough bids, or?
We got bids, but we didn't like where the bids came in at.
Anne Marie, can you address that?
I met with Dawn and, the bids came in excessively over what we have budgeted and what the grant provides for. So what we're doing now is internally, we're looking at these specifications, Dan in the, Community Development Agency, Dawn, myself, we're also gonna work with, Ken Testa, really take a hard look at our specifications to see if the bids that came in and the prices that came in truly reflected the specifications such that we should redesign, reconfigure, replan, and we'll go out to bid again. I mean, it was more than double. The bids were more than double the grant.
How much is the grant for?
Off the top of my head, please don't quote me on it, I think it was 220, I think the total grant was 250,000. 25,000 of it went to architectural design, leaving 225,000 for the build. And again, I could be off by 25,000, but.
Saying the bids came in at $450,000, $500,000, $500,000 to create a craft studio inside of an existing building?
Councilwoman, even more than that.
Well,
Yes,
In the wrong business.
and the grant is from New York State?
that is correct.
Because I happen to be ranking member, chair of the arts and tourism and things of that
Yeah.
nature. So I can probably look into that too and see
Okay,
if
great.
there's
And
more funding available in this year's budget if they could be combined.
yeah, but I think, our internal staff, experienced in construction, some design experience, can really help us take a hard look. And then our intent is, we'll rebid it out.
Wow, that's a lot of money. It's a little building.
That is correct. But,
It's
we
such a
all know
small
it's
area.
all about
Yeah.
the design and the extras that are incorporated into the plans, so we'll have to take a hard look.
I mean, I'm glad we're working on it, but yeah, that's a big amount, we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Okay, number 25, classifies site plan application for Barth's Drugstore, second story addition as a type 1 action pursuant to SECRA and requests lead agency status for the purposes of coordinated secret review, 32 East Main Street, Riverhead, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-128-6-57.3. Number 26, Twin Fork Beer Water Capital Project Number 81955 closure. Number 27, ratifies authorization for the town supervisor to execute a professional services agreement with Chris Channing PE, HVAC design and bid specs. Number 28, releases performance security of Riverhead Sound Associates LLC and accepts 1-year maintenance security in connection with the subdivision entitled Aquabog Golf Resorts. Number 29, Popeyes Water Service Water Capital Project Number 81856 closure. Number 30, awards bid for liquid sludge removal. Number 31, authorizes publish and post of notice to bidders for annual HVAC service contract.
Maybe we can get them in here and work on this thermometer or thermostat in this room.
It's hot.
Ooh, it's hot in here.
We used to be freezing, now we're hot.
One or the other. Number 32, Nunc Pro Tunc extension of bid for Dowflex Extra 83 to 87% calcium chloride or equal. Number 33, extends bid for sodium hydrochlorate 15% solution. Hypochlorite, I guess, 15% solution. Number 34, awards bid for street light and traffic signal maintenance repair parts. Number 35, Irwin Garstein Retail Center Water Capital Project Number 81954 closure. Number 36, adopts provisions of Executive Order 202.83 suspending the requirements of renewal applications as a condition to granting exemptions under sections 459C and 467 of the real property tax law.
This, and what is this? This is what we did with Dawn, Laverne?
It's a governor's executive
Right.
order that is saying that the local municipalities actually have the right, but the assembly voted on it on Tuesday, and they actually made it a mandate. So it's no longer up to local officials to adopt this resolution, because the assembly and the Senate voted on it on Monday and made it mandatory to allow the renewals.
Okay, thank you. 37, awards bid, mechanical distribution and emergency services, Riverhead Water District Project Number RDWD 2003M. Number 38, awards bid, process control system maintenance and emergency services, Riverhead Water District Project Number RDWD 2003 PCS. Number 39, awards bid, water distribution system maintenance and emergency services, Riverhead Water District Project Number RDWD 2003 WD. Number 40, awards bid, hydraulic control valve maintenance and emergency services, Riverhead Water District Project Number RDWD 2003 HCV. Number 41, awards bid, electrical system maintenance and emergency services, Riverhead Water District Project Number RDWD 2003E. Number 42, Riverhead BIDMA 2021 budget adjustment. Number 43, appoints a part-time police officer. Number 44, scavenger waste district budget adjustment. Number 45, adopts special event application for New York Marine Rescue Center 5K run for the Ridley, Saturday, May 1st, 2021. Number 46, adopts a local law amending Chapter 301 entitled Zoning and Development. Oh, you're gonna have to help me with this article. Article 31.
31A.
31A, Railroad Avenue Urban Renewal Area Overlay District.
And I have a couple questions about this one. So, a few issues were identified here, I think the wild scenic rivers and endangered species, and I think we said that these issues would be addressed in further secret action. I just wanted to make sure that we state that for the record, did you work on that, Anne Marie?
This is Dawn, CDA.
Right, I know. Okay, just bringing up that point, I could talk about it more.
Number 47, ratifies acceptance of Highway Superintendent's personnel report and request for Town Board resolution to effectuate personnel change. Number 48, awards bid for water service materials for the Riverhead Water District. Number 49, ratifies resignation, terminates LOA, and appoints permanent part-time PSD 1. Number 50, award and reject bids for chemicals for Riverhead Sewer District. Number 51, adopts investment policy. Number 52, appoints member to the Town of Riverhead Recreation Advisory Committee.
Yes, and we are bringing on, the fellow that does the Little League, so I'm happy to have Little League working closely with the town.
Oh, Jeremy.
Jeremy Sapio.
Yes, he does a great
Yes,
job,
yeah.
great job with Little League.
We thought it would be good to have that connection between Little League and our Recreation Advisory Committee.
Makes sense.
And 53, appoints member to the Town of Riverhead Town Board.
So, I have a couple of questions on this reso. I'm aware, I did put this reso in, and it was not on the agenda, now it's back on the agenda. But I am aware that until, the councilwoman resigns, this is, you know, I put this into Minitrack, so it would be in Minitrack, but I know that it needs to come up after she resigns, so do you have a date when you're
I'm
resigning?
resigning effective December 31st. The town clerk will have my letter of resignation today, and that is a resolution that I have asked the supervisor's office to add to the packet. So that will be adopted first, and then I guess if you guys decide to appoint somebody on the 5th, that would come after, because I have to resign effective December 31st.
So step one is we have to get the resignation,
Yep.
Resolution up.
Which is on my desk.
Right.
It'll be to the clerk, and,
Right.
As soon as we get out of executive session.
Okay, so I just wanted, I put this into Minitrack because I wanted to have it, because the supervisor had spoken to me that she wasn't sure when you would resign and when it would be voted on, but it was possible it could be the 5th. And any resolution for the 5th would have to go in by the 28th at 5 o'clock. And I know that once it's in Minitrack, it doesn't necessarily have to go on the next meeting, so I wanted to make sure that the resolution, of the person that I thought would be good, would be in Minitrack, so that's why I put it in, but I wanted to clarify that everything was going to be legal in that respect.
And I think originally it was not in the agenda, Catherine, because I think there was some question with respect to the procedure, but I think ultimately, it did get in, so, I guess as Jody said, we'll get the resignation first, and then we'll move forward a resolution to replace.
Yeah.
That resolution would be adopted first, accepting my resignation, even though Tim says he's not doing it.
Right.
Well, it was
To know.
just,
He's
it
adamantly
was,
against it.
it was confusing how things were happening. And I will say that we saw so many great applicants. I chose someone that I thought was right for us at this time. But, I was surprised to get a chastising email about it, but I'm glad to see that things worked out and that we know the timeline here and we move forward from there.
Okay, so we'll move on now to executive session. In a moment, we'll ask for a first and second to discuss the following: personnel, matters surrounding the hiring of an employee, matters surrounding a pending internal investigation, matters surrounding change in status of 2 employees, matters surrounding a stipend for an employee, and legal, matters surrounding legal and personnel issues related to appointment of a town board member. So can I have a first and second?
And I will be leaving for that executive session
Correct,
item for
right.
the legal matters surrounding the legal
Right.
and personnel issues related to appointing a town board member.
Right, so you'll
I
be
will
here
not
for
be
everything
sitting in
except that.
executive session for that discussion.
Right,
And just to clarify, the chastising email that I received was from an employee in the supervisor's office, and, I'm an elected official, I'm working very hard, I'm pretty straightforward about what I do, and I'm just trying to do the best job that I can at this appointment.
So moved.
all in favor, all opposed? Oh, I need a first and second, right? Did I
Yep.
get that?
Motion?
Second,
Okay, all in favor, all opposed?
my last second.
Ah, I should've let you go first.
The end of an era, the end of an era there.
For sure.
Okay,
Gonna be missed, Joe.
Miss you guys too.